Hi, this is Fern, my lovely wife, and she's going to share her testimony with you about her born again experience. So take it away, Fern.
Hi. Well, I'm a Jewish believer in Jesus, Yeshua, and rather than go into the whole early childhood thing, I'm going to fast forward to my teenage and young 20s, those years. By that point in my life, I was interested in nothing more than sex and drugs and rock and roll. I just was looking for the next thrill, whatever it may be. My life was completely focused on myself. I kind of embraced the occult to some degree, and I completely disdained and rejected religion in every form. I saw it as hypocrisy, as a crutch for people who were too weak or not smart enough to, handle life themselves like we could. So that was kind of my mindset. And the drugs that I pursued never got to be super heavy drugs, but they had a solid hold on me. I also was way too much into the partying scene with alcohol and going home with strange men, all of that. And of course, I was not being fulfilled in any way by those things, because those things can't fulfill you. But, you don't know that while you're in it. So here I am with a friend, and we are watching this TV show by the guy that's being interviewed. His name was Benjamin Krem, and he was touting this thing that I had never heard of called the New Age, a religion that included numerology, astrology, all these like semi-pseudo sciences that intrigued me. And had enough of a little hint of the occult that I was very interested. And I was saying to my friend, see, now there's a religion I could get into. Because this guy was saying, the Lord has come, the Messiah has come. He's on earth right now. This was in 1982. He's saying the Messiah is on earth right now. His name is Maitreya, and he's out in the desert. And if you want to meet him, you just have to go out in the desert and you can meet him. And honestly, even though I was raised Jewish, I didn't know much about a Messiah. But it still sounded interesting. So I'm getting ready to buy into this, but the guy that I'm sitting there with is going, no, that's not true. And I said, there is no truth. There is no absolute truth. And he got up and he went over to his brother's bookshelf. And he said, no, what this guy is saying is false, and I can prove it. I said, go ahead. So he pulls this book off the shelf. He literally, I'm not even kidding, he goes, blowing the dust off the top. He opens it up, and then he goes like this. I didn't understand any of this until later, but he goes like this. And he starts to read to me, because he opened to exactly where he was looking for, which I know now was obviously a God thing. And it was from the book of Matthew, and Jesus is saying, in the last days there will be many false prophets and false Christs going out into the world, and they will deceive many, even the elect, if that were possible. So if anyone says to you, look, there he is out in the desert, or look, he's over there, don't believe them. Well, I knew that book was a Bible because it said so on the front. And I knew that that book had been written thousands of years ago. But there it was saying exactly what this guy on TV was saying right there in front of me. Well, that was like, wow. So that got me talking to him about like, well, what is this all about? How can this be? And the discussion went on, and it got to the point, like, this thing started at, like, I think it was 8 p.m. And by the time it got to be, 3 in the morning, this guy is saying to me, look, if you want peace in your heart, just ask Jesus to come in. Good night. So I'm lying in bed, and I can't say that I actually prayed a prayer with words, but I can say that I was so distraught. This guy was talking to me about something called the rapture and how there was no fence for me to sit on. See, I had actually said, when I get to heaven, God will understand that I didn't want to make a commitment one way or the other as to whether he's real, because I didn't want to be wrong. So I didn't want to waste my life on something that's not true. And, when I get there, he'll understand. But here, this guy is telling me, no, there is only one way, and that's Jesus. And the rapture is going to happen, and there is no sitting on the fence. You either are for Jesus or you're against him. And this was all foreign to me, but now, of course, I look back and I see that what was going on was spiritual warfare, because inside of me, the turmoil was getting more and more intense. I was in agony from the turmoil. And when he said, just ask Jesus in your heart, all I know is that I felt as though I went like this. Even though my hands didn't do anything, it was like I opened me up. And what happened, I opened me up like toward Jesus. It's really hard to explain, as you can see. And what happened was that a peace like I had never experienced before in my life enveloped me. I felt like I was floating. I felt like I was just floating several inches above the bed, and in this place of total calm and peace that I knew I could not have manufactured. I drifted off to sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, I knew I was different. I had no words for it, but I knew I was different. The whole world was different. I remember I looked outside the window and the sun seemed brighter than it had ever seemed, and the birds were like, I don't know, birdier than they ever were before. And everything was so much more real. And I just felt like new. I knew that I was new. I had no words for it though. So I'm saying to this guy 3 days later, it took me 3 days to get around to owning that something had happened. It was kind of precious. It was mine and I didn't want to share it. But by 3 days later, I was like, there's got to be a next step. What do I do? And so this guy says, well, let's call Brad. He'll know. Brad was a mutual friend. So we get in touch with Brad, and he directs me to find a church. I find a church. I get grounded in the Word. They give me the words for what I had experienced. I was born again. Yeah, I was. I mean, I knew it way before I had words for it.
So the biggest part of being born again is a hunger for the Word and just to know this Jesus who saved you.
What was next was like, wow, what do I do? And thank you for that reminder. I all of a sudden, my whole life I had been like, Bible, and now it was like, give me this. I need to read it. I couldn't put it down. I read the whole Bible, start to finish, in like, I don't even know, maybe like a month or two, because I wasn't working or anything at that time. So I had time. So I just read it straight through, and I had a ton of questions, but the church that I was in, they were very good at straightening out the important questions and helping a person to understand what you needed to do next, how to be grounded in the Word, how to know who Jesus is from His Word. And my relationship with Jesus just grew and grew, and He was the fulfillment of the longings that I had been trying to fill with everything the world had to offer. I found it all in Jesus.